Nigeria British Chamber of Commerce, as part of its programs to inspire and empower members and aspiring entrepreneurs, hosted the Series 1.0 session of its 2024 Sharing Experience. It was an opportunity to gain insights and perspectives on leadership, entrepreneurship, and national development with Mr. Olufemi Awoyemi, a member of the National Institute, distinguished financial analyst, founder and chairman of Proshare. In a fireside chat anchored by Tolulope Ogunjobi, a renowned financial journalist and business editor, TVC News shared the rationale behind establishing Proshare and the realities of being an entrepreneur in Nigeria.
First, I'd like us to start with what motivated you in starting this business. Yes, let me put it that way. Establishing Proshare. Could you tell us, highlight your success story so far?
What motivated me? I'm sure people always find a way to describe what motivates them. But sometimes it's a lie. Sometimes you may just need to just follow the path that God has created for you. The honest truth is that the sequence of events around my life meant that it was always going to be a natural trajectory for me to stay along the lines of what information and quality of information that is used in decision making. And there was a first iteration. I used to write a column when I was in the banking. I was head of strategy and reputation management, which meant a number of words collided. Strategy, analyst work, dealing with financial journalists and business editors, and most importantly with communications person. It was clear to me the difference between a media person and a communications person. And as such, the information I needed to work with then included doing environmental scanning. The quality of information was rather very abysmal, very poor. And it took me quite a number of activities to do so. And I felt there was a need to. I was lucky enough to run into Ayarolo then, who was the pioneer MD of Financial Standards. So I was writing a column there for about 5 years. And that I did only to improve my writing skills. And not because I needed to write anyway, but I needed to just improve my writing. So Ayo called us together. We came together and we set up a company called MoneyWise. So MoneyWise was into print and it was ahead of its time. But I was already seeing around that same time there was a transition towards digitization. And it made a lot more sense to run a company that way. But everybody said it wasn't going to work. And for me, the motivation that they said it wasn't going to work was actually what I really wanted to. I wasn't planning to run the company. I was going to run it as a CSR. I would just prove a point and then move on. But then it kept on. And I found out there was an easier way to make money as well. So I kept doing it. That's the honest thing.
Many would say the environment was a bit more, should I say, conducive, for businesses to thrive at that time compared to this time. What would you say to maybe young ones that might want to do this at this time?
There's never any environment that's conducive. Uncertainty is a natural process of life. Wow. You just have to decide you want to do. Those who actually make a difference are those who do things outside what is conducive. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because if you're comfortable around everything, everybody is doing the same thing. So you ask yourself a question, what is Proshare? We say something in Proshare, you can write complex strategic plans, but your execution must be the simplest. You must execute so simply that it's easy for somebody else to try to copy you, but by the time they finish copying you, you've moved on to something else. And so that requires a bit of using some of those attributes God has given us. It's called intellect. It's not such a difficult thing to use. But you must embrace it and understand that your best result, there's time there. If she produces something this week and we get back to next week and say she's produced it, I'm wondering, we got to do something else. So it's not change or adaptability or being agile. It's not what you do. It is who you are. And if you're not able to become that person, then it's difficult to stay in a fast-paced information world. For example, you know that the information cycle is a 24/7. So how then do you achieve work-life balance if you're operating in an industry that's a 24/7 operation? So for us, we took a decision in order to achieve that by saying that we are not trying to be the first with the news. The news is not the important thing. If it's news, it has happened before it became news.
Yes.
Our job is to understand what is happening and then the impact of what is announced. Then what is news, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've already taken that decision. We are communicating to you. Certain people have access to that information before every one of you. And so people use it for different things. So at our place, it's a little bit different. So if you say, that thing tells you, say from highlights to insights. That's exactly what it is. So pick any example of what is news for you and let's see what we would do differently. So there's this mad rush to be the first. Everybody's Twitter.
We are first in breaking news. I get that really. But I also like to ask you, how do you approach market intelligence services to identify emerging trends and, of course, opportunities in the industry?
So Proshare has a media operation, it has an analyst operation,
yes,
and it has an analyst strategic unit. We are structured like a professional services firm. That's the difference. We don't operate with using the media model. We are structured as a professional services firm with unit heads, just as you would have with a PwC. That's how the structure really runs. Now, the challenge has always been how, in order for it to operate efficiently, you create Chinese walls. The biggest challenge is that we need to build bridges in those Chinese walls. But in Nigeria, for you to work, most people prefer, even in my organization, to open doors or dig tunnels. It's faster. The bridge is longer. But here's the thing. Those organizations who will succeed are those who stay the course of making sure that get your people to cross the bridge. Because that's where all the pitfalls and all the dangers are. So the way we approach market intelligence is that we're still learning. One of the biggest challenges in market intelligence is what you know of Mr. A, how does it not get to Mr. B? How do you not pass information of A and B to C? How do you not breach trust? But one thing we have learned how to do very well is that if you are a client, say you're advertising with us, and there is a particular report we consider to be of matters of governance, public interest, we are very clear as to what to do. The contract tells you very well. Funds can be refunded to you so that we can go ahead and write. And so that addresses the question someone will ask me, how do you balance your ability to make money and also build an organization? That's not a problem. It's not a problem because if you approach it from a slow growth mentality, that means it's about incremental success. And you're not seeking to be a billionaire overnight. The chances are that you would build enough cliche or connection within the system that you will be referred to or referenced. I'm sure you won't see Proshare talk about its clientele. There are people we work with that will never disclose we work with them because that's the nature of their service. But in a society, everybody measures your success in terms of how much noise you make. What they haven't understood is that money operates in whispers. It is safer for you to be rich and anonymous rather than be poor and loud. You have many loud people. And the way you know is that it's only when the water goes up, like they say, and you find out how many of us are swimming in nakedness. What we try to do is to try to build something that genuinely can offer impact. The focus is always that what it is we're doing. There are so many examples I can give where it is clear to us that we can make money here. But we may not have the right temperament to make that kind of money. And such, we sometimes lose. I'm sure if somebody takes over from me, they'll probably make more money than I do. But for me, the most important thing is there are three major words. When we started Proshare, there were three major things we wanted to do. To be reliable, to be credible, and to be timely. Now, what does those three things mean? It offers us a competitive edge in the industry. Because if we build ourselves on those, we can work with and through people.
Yes.
And so our concept immediately meant that we were not competing with it. This day, we're not competing with that. We're not. We are a critical bridge within the system. So we will promote what they do, we would exchange materials, and we work very well with them. In fact, when we have projects, we also engage people from outside, people you consider competitors, to work with us on projects. Yeah, that's it. It's about knowledge. Who has the knowledge? Who has the information?
The very enlightening fire chat session with Mr. Olufemi Awoyemi elicited an interesting Q&A session.
If there were two things that you would say to your younger self, what would those two things be?
I should have stayed longer in one or two employments I had, because the learning would have been complete then. I cut short my learning in a particular one, and somewhere down the line, it hurts me. I should have stayed a bit more. Perhaps the third one is that I should have partied less. I mean, my guys in the office see me now, they call me a nerd. No, me, I was partying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was just partying. You know, then you didn't have too much care. I wasn't thinking about too many things. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but I wish I'd done less of that. Because it began to show when I needed to have ethics. If not for some life-changing events, I know some of my friends who never changed, and it's hurting them as you get older. And people think you have forever. You don't. If you've ever been, I pray it doesn't happen to any of you, but if you've ever had to sit down one day and you know that you can walk, life changes. So the meaning of friends change. The meaning of family changes. The meaning of purpose change. And so we take so many things for granted.
To you, what would you say would be the singular most important quality of a leader in today's business world?
Be the example of what you talk about. So we don't have to read it. We just see it in you. Good, bad, and ugly. You exemplify it. That's all. And so they see you also fail. They see you succeed. They see you learn. They see you. And so the lessons is self-taught.
The guest speaker in an interview gave a summary of key points raised at the experience sharing series.
Uncertainty and challenges in business means that none of us is immune, no matter what. And it's relative. People are exposed to the level of the degree to which their own circumstances are. But in the main, the lesson is that every organization must try to be agile and adaptive enough to anticipate most of these challenges. It is in the nature of economies to go through cycles, but we must understand the trends that are leading to it so that one particular cycle can trigger so many consequences. Then we believe that the whole economy is upside down. But these are just things that you could see that they were almost going to happen over the time. And like some of you would know, in our organization, we are exposed as well to so many things. In actual fact, when our clients and the people we serve are also exposed, it has a knock-on effect on our ability to survive as well. So we are all in it together. So for me, from a business position, the lesson is that we have to be prudent with our financial resources. We have to understand how we are going to address the changing needs of the consumers, which are moderated by their own realities as well. We would have to think about our processes and think of what we can do. And it's generally in the nature of society that some sectors know it better than the others. If you pay attention to it, those sectors who know it more than the others have invested more money on strategic planning, invested money in investing in thinking ahead, invested money in improving their processes to the extent that when these shocks do occur, it doesn't affect them too significantly. And we have examples. If you take a look at the banking sector, the telecom sector, the pharmaceutical sector, and most importantly, the professional services sector, and you watch their growth pattern over the last 10 years, a decade, you will see which industries are able to weather these things over there. And they offer us teachable moments and lessons that some of us can take up. But like I said, everybody's only as good as the knowledge you knew yesterday. Things are changing. Ways of conducting business are changing. Work ethics are changing. And we just have to be comfortable with these changes as a natural part of it. And then we'll find our way out.
The president of the Nigeria British Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Ray Ateli, and Mr. Tajuddin Ahmed, Chairman, Programs Committee of the Chamber, highlighted the importance of the sharing experience sessions and the takeaways from the 2024 Series 1.0.
Sharing experiences, like I said in my opening remarks, is an opportunity to help strengthen those who are still making their ways up the corporate ladder. There are life lessons that those who we bring to speak at such events learned as they navigated their ways up. And it helps to have them share their experiences so that the young entrepreneurs will learn and apply the lessons to their own businesses. It's never enough to read textbooks. You need to know how the man who has seen it and done it, what were the challenges he faced and how did he sort himself out at the end of it all. So we bring them, and it's always a privilege to have them. And I know that today's experience, it's something that will reverberate across the young entrepreneurship cadre we've got.
The purpose of learning from other people's mistakes, especially older people and more experienced people, is not to repeat their own mistakes. So the basis for creating this, amongst all our different area of programs at the Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce, is to create a platform for people to learn from successful individuals, especially at organizational level and also personal levels. And some of the insight we got from here is about leadership. There's a topical quote he made, not a quote, but I would say it's a quote. He said, "The leader should be the mirror of the organization. We shouldn't read about your character from a book. We should actually see you act it." So if you run an organization where your staff have to get to read their manuals, or proof of concept to know the culture of the organization, then you're not going to run the organization well. The character of the organization, the culture of the organization should actually resonate with the leadership. And once you can put that marker down for your staff, everybody will fall in line. You also said organizations should be mindful of, for instance, as little as their reception. That if you sat at the reception of an organization, within 5 to 10 minutes, you can actually read their culture. How many persons give value to the front desk or the security man? So if you want to put a persona behind your business, are your security men, are they dressed in a crumpled manner? Are they ruffled? Do they look like ruffians? Meanwhile, you are doing great things in your premises. If the first time visitor to that premise didn't see anything worth the while, they might not come back to you. And again, he gave some nuggets about followership as well, soft skills, negotiation skills, networking. And he made a profound statement that beyond what you know in this world, and it's the same thing with either Africa or other parts of the world, it's beyond what you know. People you know, as simple as that is, also matters. Because the people that will speak for you when you are not in that room are people that know about your competence, they know about your capacity, and they know that you do the right thing. So if you are in your cocoon, doing so well, and people didn't hear your story, they might not be able to give you opportunities that will take you to the next level, beyond the threshold where you are today.
A major takeaway from the guest speaker, Mr. Olufemi Awoyemi, is the reality that in the midst of economic uncertainties, entrepreneurs and businesses that are agile, resilient, prudent, with resources, and adopt a service culture of excellence will thrive and be sustainable.